feel that you're far away from me. And I know everybody's like laughing and smiling. You know what I'm going to ask for, right? What am I going to ask for? Last 7 pews empty, or still last 7 rows empty. So if you do not know how to count, I'm more than happy to come and count for you, okay? Last 7 rows empty. Yes, people are counting. Well done. You're definitely in them, Chris. Don't worry. You're definitely in them. Yani, come up front. Come up front. Come on, come on, come on. I promise you we do not bite. And we're very friendly. Let's come up front. Meshi. Okay, great. Okay, I hope you all had a blessed week. I see some new faces, which is a great blessing. So we'll get to know each other at the end of the meeting. We are actually starting a new series today, which is called Living Sacrifices. And I hope that we all get to see how we can take a part of being a living sacrifice. Today we're blessed to have Mina, which I don't think I need to do any introduction to. For those of you who do not know him, he causes a lot of noise in the church. Okay?
Lots of trouble.
A lot of noises. Well, some of them are good. Some of them are, yani. But I'm blessed to serve with Mina. And Mina is actually going to talk about living sacrifice of the heart as the first one. And he's going to give us like an introduction to it. I don't have a story yet to tell you, but pray that I get one at the end of his talk. And he's going to do the live stream because he forgot it. So if Mina keeps on running, kiddo, that's absolutely fine, okay? Don't worry about it. There we go, started. Okay, can we cheer him off at least to start?
Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. So, we thought during Lent, because this is the Lent season, it would be something fit that we talk about a living sacrifice. And this is going to be our series throughout the next few weeks up until almost Holy Week. So when we read living sacrifice, the first thing that comes to mind is that it doesn't make sense. Do you guys agree? No? You guys are very quiet. What do you guys think of the term living sacrifice? Sorry? Fantastic. So it doesn't make sense. Why it doesn't make sense? Because when we look at the definition of a sacrifice meaning that we're slaughtering an animal or a person, right? So when we look into it, living sacrifice, we have living, that is the opposite of a sacrifice. So it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense when we read that the Bible is telling us about a living sacrifice. So what does it mean, or where was it written? Who wrote it? What was the context? Anyone remembers? Where was this written to begin with? The STP. Anyone knows what Abuna is referring to? Yes? Fantastic. This was actually exactly as you said, St. Paul, STP, as Abuna said. He was trying to help you guys. In Romans 12, verse 1, the very first verse. So it reads like that. Therefore, I urge you, brothers and sisters, in view of God's mercy, to offer yourselves as a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your true and proper worship. This is the very first verse in chapter 12. There were 11 chapters in the book of Romans where St. Paul was talking about what Jesus did for us, how we're going to be saved through the sacrifice of Jesus. And then in chapter 12, he's saying this: it's your time now to offer yourselves as a living sacrifice. And with that, we can start to understand that we are still alive while offering sacrifices. And this is what he explained at the end. The end of the verse is the explanation of why we have to offer ourselves as a living sacrifice. This is the true and proper worship. So sometimes we feel that worship, I am saved, I'm Christian, I go to church on Sunday, that's enough for me, right? So St. Paul actually is telling us to properly worship, to properly be in a relationship with God, I need to offer myself as a living sacrifice. And with that, we're going to look into the next few weeks about what we're going to offer. So tonight, we're going to start the series with offering our hearts. Next week, we're going to offer our bodies. And the last week, we're going to offer to others. So we're starting tonight with our heart. Next week is going to be our bodies, and we will understand what it means. And finally, we're going to offer to others. So with tonight, we're talking about offering our heart to God. And when I thought of tonight's talk, I thought of a man after God's own heart. So if we want to offer our heart, let's see what God is saying about a man after God's own heart. And who's that? This is King David. King David. So, we're going to look into King David for a little bit, and let's try to contemplate on his life to see what King David has done. And maybe from that, we'll be able to understand when someone is living according to God's own heart, how this person's heart is going to be. And with that, we will be able to understand how to offer our hearts to God. So King David started we start reading about him in the first book of Samuel, when God sent Samuel to ordain him as a king. So Samuel went there and started picking all of the brothers, the older brothers of David. But God told him, don't look outside, Samuel. For you, look at the face of people, but God looks at the heart of people. So God looked at David's heart and he said, this guy is going to be the king. So what do we know about David? What are some stories that we know about David? From the very beginning, we've seen that David was very courageous. Does anyone remember the stories that David have said to King Saul? In 1 Samuel 17, when David knew that the Philistines are fighting against the Israelites, he went to King Saul and he told him, I am going to fight. So King Saul started laughing at him, but you're very tiny, you don't have any experience. So David started telling him about some stories. Does anyone remember the stories? Yes, he fought a lion and he fought a bear by himself. Why? To protect his sheep. So with that, we see a heart of someone who's looking after his sheep, not caring about himself, right? Then he went in front of Goliath, and he said, Goliath was a giant. David was a very small guy at the time. He said, how is this guy trying to defeat the armies of the living God? He had his heart on fire for God and his army. He couldn't contain it to himself. And he said this, who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he would defy the armies of the living God? David's heart was courageous. David's heart was on fire, zealous for the Lord. This is a heart according to God. But David, how are you going to defeat this giant? You're one man. For 40 days, no one was able to do anything. He said, I have faith in my God. So David was courageous. David was zealous to God. David was faithful to God. And then we see more, another story later on. Later on, after this story, after David defeated Goliath, Saul started to get jealous from David and wanted actually to kill David. So there was an opportunity there where David went and found Saul in a cave. So his enemy is in his hands. He's able to kill him. What did David do? He didn't do that. It happened afterwards that David's heart troubled him. What did he do? He only cut the robe of Saul while Saul was asleep in the cave. He didn't touch him. He just cut the robe of Saul. So David's heart troubled him because he had cut Saul's robe. And he said to his men, "The Lord forbid that I should do the thing to my master, the Lord's anointed." Even though he didn't revenge to himself, he didn't kill his enemy, his heart troubled him. Simply why? Because he cut the robe of his enemy. And then when he stood in front of Saul, with all humility, he started telling the king, "Who is the king coming after? Are you coming after me? I am nothing but a flea." David, this is your enemy, and you're talking to your enemy. And God anointed you as the king. But David's heart was so humble, was so loving, that he didn't consider himself that he can do anything against the Lord's anointed. And during that time when he was running away from Saul, what did he do? Yes, he wrote the Psalms. He started strengthening himself in the Lord his God. Instead of relying on people, instead of taking revenge, so we see another characteristics of David's heart. David's heart troubled him just because he thought, not he did, because he thought he could even revenge for himself. More, and finally, after David was actually king, what did he do? He brought back the Ark of the Covenant, for the Ark of the Covenant was lost in the hands of the Philistines. So David went and brought back the Ark of the Covenant. And when he brought back the Ark of the Covenant, he was celebrating in front of the Ark, to the point where he was playing and dancing and celebrating and rejoicing in front of the Ark. His wife have seen him, and she looked at him disgusted. "What are you doing? How can you do this, you king? And you're doing this?" So David answered her and said this, "Therefore I will play music before the Lord, and I will even be more undignified than this, and will be humble in my own sight." In front of God, David knew that he was nothing. And he was glad to be undignified in front of God. So what have we seen so far about David's heart from the very beginning? Courageous for God, zealous for God, fiery for God, faithful to God, repented and humble in front of God, and finally praising God with all his might. And this is David, the amazing King David that God have said that this is a man according to my own heart. But just a second, this guy has done some terrible things, right? Do you guys know the stories of David? The Bible actually is telling us and is showing us that David was one of the most people who did mistakes. Like when we're looking at Abraham, when we're looking at Jacob, when we're looking at Noah, when we're looking at many of the big saints, big names in the Bible, we're seeing one mistake, two mistakes. With David, the Bible is showing us numerous mistakes of David. So it started with this. It happened at the time when kings go out to battle that David sent Joab and his servants with him while he remained at Jerusalem. So this is the first problem. David was, at that time, lazy. So as a king, what was David supposed to do? Go with his armies. But David only sent Joab to the war, while as his duty, as a king, that he would go out to fight with his people, to fight with his armies. But David was staying at home. He didn't want to go. He was feeling lazy at the time. Then after that, what happened? Then it happened one evening that David arose from his bed. David arose from his bed in the evening. Wow. He's really bored. Like he's staying in bed up until evening. You're a king. How come you're staying in bed up until the evening? I thought you're a guy of praises. You are waking up early to praise and pray to God. What happened? How come you're still staying in bed? David was lazy. David was bored. And then, from the roof, he saw a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful to behold. So, as soon as he will see the woman, he will turn around and run and go inside his house. Right? Because that's the proper thing to do. But David didn't do this. David kept on looking. David, what are you doing? So David inquired about the woman, and someone said, is this not Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah? So David knew that this is a married woman. David knew that this was a married woman. So he was lazy. Then he got bored. And he started looking at the woman bathing. And instead of running, he kept on looking. And then he asked about the woman. And when he knew that she was married, instead of stopping there, David sent messengers and took her and slept with her. Oh my God, what are you doing, David? Sometimes I care. This was one of the days where David didn't care whatsoever. David, you're not doing one mistake, two mistakes, three mistakes. You're doing mistakes after mistakes. What are you doing, David? And the woman conceived, and David sent to Joab saying, send me Uriah. And David said to Uriah, go down to your house. So instead of confessing, David didn't confess, I've done something wrong. David kept on going, send me Uriah so that his something wrong that happened will be covered. And in the morning it happened that David wrote a letter to Joab saying, set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle and retreat from him that he may be struck down and die. Oh my God, David. David is falling down greatly. One sin after the other, one thing after the other. Now, he didn't just sleep with the guy's wife, he killed the guy. What is that? What is all of this? And this thing that David has done displeased the Lord. He was really, really displeased with what David has done. Another story. Later on, towards the end of his life, we see this. That David said to Joab, the commander of the army, now go throughout all the tribes of Israel and count the people that I may know the number of the people. Is this a good thing or a bad thing to know how much army you have? What do you guys think? Depends on the heart. Very good, Abuna. So, was this the first time that the armies of Israel have been counted? No. We have a whole book before David called the book of Numbers. And in the book of Numbers, God was counting his people. But who was counting? God was counting. Here, David was counting. Why was David counting? Because he won many battles. And now he started I want to show off. I am very strong. I have a very strong army. And look at my army. Look at my people. There are many. So David, as Abuna was saying, was counting his army to boast. Joab answered, may the Lord make his people 100 times more than they are. But my Lord the king, are they not all my Lord's servants? So Joab tried to warn David. He's showing off. David was showing off, and even God, through Joab, tried to stop him. But David didn't listen. And this is what St. Paul is saying. You who have received, why do you boast as if you have not received? Anything that we have is coming from God. Whether it's health or wealth or knowledge or wisdom or whatever it is that we have today, I didn't do it myself. I can't say I am extremely smart. I've worked all my life to be this smart. It's a gift from God. I'm very healthy. Again, it's a gift from God. So anything that we have is a gift from God. So David, why are you showing off? Your armies are a gift from God for you. And this thing also was displeasing to God. So we see the faults of David were really, really plentiful. So how come that God says this about David? Because many years or some years later, few years later, in 1 Kings 11, straight away, after the death of David and then Solomon after him, however, I will not take the whole kingdom out of his hand, because I have made him ruler all the days of his life for the sake of my servant David, whom I chose because he kept my commandments and my statutes. David kept your commandments? What are you talking about? Have we not seen what David has done? All of these bad things that David has done? How are you saying this? And even many years later, we look in the book of Acts, we look that when St. Paul was talking, he said, he raised up for them David as king, to whom also he gave testimony and said, I have found David, the son of Jesse, a man after my own heart, who will do all my will. Are you sure, Lord? David is a man after your heart? We've seen David's heart. Yes, at the very beginning, he was a lovely guy. But many of us could be lovely guys, but we do terrible things. So how can we say that our hearts are offered to God? Our hearts are according to God's heart. What did David do for God to say this about him? Let's see. There were 5 things that David has done. And let's go through them one by one. So, at the very beginning, after the story of Bathsheba and David taking her and sleeping with her, the Lord sent Nathan to David. And Nathan started telling David about a story very similar to what David has done. And then he told him at the very end, you are this man who has done something that is wrong. You have sinned against the Lord. So how did David reply? So sorry, Nathan. She was naked in front of me. She was bathing in front of me there. I was just passing by and she didn't put a towel on, she didn't hide inside. It's not my fault, really, that she was bathing outside naked. Is that what David have said? David didn't say this. David said this, I have sinned against the Lord. As a king, he's receiving criticism, he's receiving a note from Nathan, a prophet, just a prophet, to the king of Israel. He's telling him, you are wrong. And David said, yes, I'm wrong. Straight away, no pointing fingers. No, you've done this, no, you've done that. He didn't make excuses for himself. He didn't make any excuses. He said it very clearly. Yes, I have done wrong. Yes, I have sinned. Yes, I shouldn't have done that. As simple as it is. Without trying to give excuses for himself. Point 2. Then Nathan said to David, now therefore the sword shall never depart from your house. I said I'm sorry. I've said I'm sorry. Why are you saying this? So what actually happened after that? What happened after that is that Bathsheba got pregnant, as we've seen, and she bore a son. And after she gave birth to the son got very, very sick. The Lord struck the child that Uriah's wife bore to David, and it became ill. David therefore pleaded with God for the child. David fasted and went in and lay all night on the ground. David didn't do something that we all do instead. When something happens in our lives, why are you doing this, God? Why did you allow this to happen to me? I am a good person. I am your king. How can you do this to a king? You anointed me. David didn't do any of these things. David accepted what the Lord has allowed in his life. He didn't complain against God. He accepted what God has allowed in his life. So step 1 was David didn't give any excuses. Stop giving excuses. He confessed, I have done this wrongly. Step 2, he accepted what the Lord allowed in his life. All right, another story. Later on, one of his sons wanted to take over the kingdom. So what did David do? David ran from Jerusalem. While he was running away from Jerusalem, one of the guys went out and started throwing him with stones and started to insult David. So as a king, if anyone insults the king, David has the right to kill that man. Straight away, kill the man. What did David do at the time? He didn't kill the man. What did he say? He said this, what have I to do with you, you sons of Zeruiah? Let him curse, because the Lord has said to him, curse David. Could God have asked anyone to curse David? No. Then why is David saying this? Why is David saying, let him curse, because the Lord said to him, curse David? How did David take this situation upon himself? I am the king and I deserve to kill anyone who insults me. He didn't think of it this way. David looked at it very differently. David looked and said, this is an opportunity that God is trying to humble me. Even if God didn't say to the man, and God would never say to the man, curse him. But I am taking this opportunity in my life as an opportunity to humble myself. That I, as a king, am accepting insults from a man. I, as Mina, accepting someone to insult me. I'm not going to defend myself. I'm not going to get angry about it. Even if they are falsely accusing me, it's fine. God is allowing this to happen. And if God is allowing this to happen, I will take it upon myself and I will take this opportunity to learn what God wants me to learn. God is allowing this opportunity for me to humble myself. It may be that the Lord would look on my affliction and that the Lord would repay me with good for his cursing this day. I am being afflicted, and if I am being afflicted, I will take this opportunity to humble myself in front of God. I will not stand and defend my ego and defend my pride and how dare you say this about me? I have to defend my honor. David didn't do this. David humbled himself and accepted even the false accusations and the insults coming in his face. Then later on, when David, as we said, David started to show off, to boast, to count the number of his armies, and this displeased God. So what did God do? He sent another prophet to David at the time. It was Gad the prophet. So God came to David and told him, and he said to him, one of three things will happen to you, and it's up to you to pick, because what you have done was wrong. Shall 7 years of famine come to you in your land, or shall you flee 3 months before your enemies? Or shall there be 3 days plague in your land? 3 very difficult choices. He told them, because what you have done, David, was really wrong. God was displeased with that. Now God is giving you 3 offers. You have to pick one. Which one? 7 years of famine, flee 3 months before your enemies, or a plague for 3 days in your land. What did David answer? So David said to God, I am in great distress. Please let us fall into the hand of the Lord, for his mercies are great, but do not let me fall into the hand of a man. Even in this bad situation, yes, I am completely surrendering my life into God's hands. I know that I've done something wrong, so I accepted without excuses. So first, without excuses, I'm saying it is my fault. And I accepted whatever God is allowing in my life. And I am humbling myself in front of God, and I'm putting everything into his hands. This is all in God's hands. I will not want to be in a man's hands that will control my life, that will afflict me. I will accept it from God. I'm giving it to God. Let me fall into God's hands, not into a man's hand. This is a total surrender that David has put all his life into God's hands. Yes, David, but this is going to be really bad. I am in God's hands. I know that I am in God's hands. Even in a dire situation, even in a bad situation, I am in God's hands. So finally, the last point that we're going to talk about. What happened at the very end? At the very end of this story, we see that the angel of the Lord came and the plague started killing many of the Israelites. So David was seeing that his people are dying in front of him. So David said this. David spoke to the Lord when he saw the angel who was striking the people and said, "Surely I have sinned and I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray, be against me and against my father's house, and let the people live." David done something that very hardly any of us would do. David put himself instead of all of the others. David stood in front of God and told God, "If you want to bring your judgment on anyone, don't bring it on anyone else except me. I am ready to sacrifice myself and my family, my family's house, my father's house, for all of the people to be saved." This is David's heart. David was willing to put himself in front of others. What do you guys think of this? How many of us could do the same? How many of us could stand and tell God, "Lord, there are people dying in the Middle East. There are people dying in China and Asia who don't know anything about you. Lord, I am willing to go there, even if it costs me my life, so that I bring you your people to you. I am willing to offer myself for the sake of these people to live." This is David's heart. So there were 5 things that David did. We looked at 5 things before the fall of David, and then we looked at 5 new things after the fall. We looked at David being courageous, being zealous for God, being faithful towards God, being humble in front of God, and David finally was praising God with all his might and being undignified in front of God. After the fall, we looked at 5 different things. The first one was no excuses. David was not giving any excuses. 2, accepting whatever God allows. 3, humility. This is, I am accepting with humility whatever God allows in my life. I am humbling myself in front of God. 4, full surrender. David was fully surrendering his life in front of God. And 5, David was willing to offer even himself for the sake of others. This is why God was saying, "I found David a man according to my heart." Any questions so far? What do you guys think? David, amazing? Is that it? That's not for today. We still have a little bit more. We're still going to go to the next level. So that was David. That was level 1. We still are going to go to the next level. What is the next level? We're going to look at another guy in the Bible, and we're going to see what this guy did. And it came to pass in the days when God wanted to test Abraham and know his heart and his love for him, that he said to him, "Abraham, Abraham, take your beloved son Isaac and offer him to me as a burnt offering upon the mountain of which I tell you." God has asked Abraham to offer his own son. And it's very clear. God wanted to know Abraham's heart, To begin with, doesn't God know how Abraham will react? God already knows. So this is for us to see, not for God to know. We need to understand this difference, yeah? So God already knows what Abraham is going to do. So this is for us to see, not for God to know. So what did Abraham do? Let's see. Abraham rose up in the morning and saddled his donkey, took his 2 servants and his son Isaac. He rose up in the morning. طب Abraham, just think about it كده يعني let's discuss it together. Are you going to offer your son? Yeah. طب have you talked with Sarah about it? No. طب can you wait for a couple of days to let it digest in, let it sink in? No need. He rose in the morning as early as he could. Why, Abraham? To offer Isaac. But are you sure you want to do this? This is significant. Yes. He took a knife and fire, walked on the earth, and saw from afar the place of which the Lord had told him. So were you maybe planning throughout the journey to return back? No. Were you second guessing what's going to happen? No. Were you going to maybe fake it in front of God? No. He took fire and knife and went to the mountain on which God has told him to go. No turning back. He rose early and there was no turning back. And Abraham took the firewood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son, and took fire in his hands and the knife. He went all the way. He told his servants, you guys wait here. I'm going to take Isaac my son and go up and offer the sacrifice. On the way, Isaac asked him, Dad, I see the wood and I see the fire, but I can't see the sacrifice. What did you feel, Abraham, when you answered Isaac at that moment, telling him, don't worry, son, I will offer you? How? How did you have the heart to tell this? To know that you're going to put Isaac on that altar? And Abraham took stones and built an altar, and took the firewood and laid it upon the altar, and took Isaac his son, bound him, and laid him on the altar, and took the knife to slay him. Abraham didn't hesitate for 1 second to offer Isaac to God. But what did Isaac represent to Abraham? His heart. Isaac represented all what Abraham cared about. If we follow the story from the beginning of Abraham, Abraham was a very wealthy man. He didn't have children, and God promised him children. And at that time, not having children was significant. It's crucial for a man as wealthy as Abraham to have a child. God promised him when he was 75 years old that he's going to have a son, which was already late, very late in his life. Abraham waited for that son for 25 years, up until God has given him Isaac. And then God is asking Abraham to offer him Isaac. Isaac was not just a son to Abraham. Isaac was Abraham's heart. In the second that Abraham took that knife to slay Isaac, he was pretty much laying down his own heart on that altar. Abraham was offering his son, he was offering his heart to God. So what occupies your heart today? It's a question for us to ask. What is in our heart? Is there a sin that is taking over my heart? Something that I really want? Pride, maybe my ego is quite high. I like this, I like that. It could be even my career. I want to progress in my career. My career is taking over my heart. Money, love of money. Family. I love my family. My family is the most important thing. A relationship, someone I really love. Goals, dreams, future, treasures. What is occupying our hearts today? It could be really anything. Anyone who has something on their heart, something holding dearly on their heart. Are we able, if God allowed this, if God has asked us for this, whether it is my career, my finances, my family, my relationship, my dreams of a future, that I have it so close, taking over my heart. If God had asked me today, Mina, offer this to me. I am not allowing this to carry on anymore. I am taking this of you. How will I react today? Will I be able to stand in front of God like Abraham and tell him, Lord, I will raise up in the morning early. I will not even hesitate to go there. I will not doubt you for a second. And I will put my heart with my dreams and whatever I hold dearly to me on that altar, and I'm going to offer it to you as a living sacrifice. Whatever it is, are we able to give it up or not? That's what God is asking of us today. And the second we actually go through with it and tell him, Lord, it's yours. Abraham was able to say this. Abraham said to the Lord, Isaac is yours. So God said, and the angel of the Lord called Abraham saying, I am the Lord your God. I swear by myself that because you have done this and have not withheld your son, your only son, I will surely bless you and make your descendants as numerous as the stars in the sky and as the sand on the seashore. Your descendants will take possessions of the city of their enemies, and through your offspring, all nations on the earth will be blessed because you have obeyed me. Guys, God is wonderful. I know many times if we feel that God is asking us to offer him something, we think that why is God asking of this of us? But look what God did. When we offered our heart, when Abraham didn't withhold his heart to God, God swore by himself to bless him 10,000 folds. And this is exactly this picture. God is asking of us, this teeny tiny little bear, can you offer it to me? Can you offer me your heart? Can you offer me what's taking over in your heart? But we're holding on to it dearly and we're saying, no, I want it. I want this. But God is preparing a huge blessing after it. Huge blessing after it. We just need to trust him. We just need, if he closed the door, to tell him, yes, Lord, I agree. If he's asking us to give up something, yes, Lord, I agree. Yes, Lord, I'm going to offer this to you. So we've seen David, a man according to God's own heart. We've seen what David has done. We've seen the heart of David. And now we've seen Abraham offering everything to God. So summary, love the Lord your God with all your heart. But Lord, my heart is broken. My heart is tired. I can't bear it anymore. I am too broken inside. I'm going through all of these things and I'm tired. God is asking us, offer me your heart, even if it is broken, because guess what? When we offer our hearts to God, He's saying this, I am the Lord, your healer. I know your heart is broken, but guess what? I will heal your heart for you. If we offer our hearts to God, our broken hearts to God, He will heal it. He will make it complete. He's saying this, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. How many things are taking hold of our hearts? Can we surrender them? Can we give them to God? And He will heal our hearts. Because guys, love is not just feelings. Love is a verb. The verse that we were looking at, love the Lord your God. It's what? It's a commandment. But I thought I need to love God, it's feelings. No. Love is a commandment. Love. How can I love someone? I need to put in the actions to love someone. How? We've seen in David 10 things that David did. We've seen in Abraham how he actually showed to offer his heart to God. So love is a verb. He who loves me, keep my commandments. Can we keep the Lord's commandment? Love your neighbor as yourself. Pray for those who persecuted you. Love your enemies. If someone is upsetting you, go and try to make amends with them. No, he has hurt me. It's okay. Can we follow the commandments? Can we keep the commandments? Can we love God by keeping His commandments? Because when God loved us, He sent His only begotten Son to die on the cross. For God to show us that He loves us, He died for us on the cross. So the question that we're going to leave you with tonight, what will you do to show God that you love Him? Glory be to God. Any questions? I hope not. Abuna is here to take all the answers. Yes, Peter, can you raise your voice? Can you come to the front? I can't hear you. How we differentiate between giving up what and neglecting what? How to differentiate between giving up family and neglecting family, or giving up money and neglecting money? Fantastic question. So there is a verse when Jesus was talking, He said this, if anyone does not hate his father, mother, wife, husband, children more than me, He does not deserve me. So what, Lord, what are you talking about? Are you asking me to hate my family? Are you asking me to give up my family? Do you think that this is what God is asking, what Jesus is asking? Because this is contradicting to the 10th commandment, commandment number 5, honor your father and mother. So what is he talking about? What does it mean to hate my parents or hate my spouse? Why is he so severe like that? Here the word hate, or in another gospel, he said, if you love your father and mother or spouse or children more than me, then you do not deserve me. So what Jesus is asking of us, who are we going to love more? Just like Abraham. God has asked Abraham, offer your son. Am I going to say to God, no, I'm not going to accept this. You're not my God anymore. I'm not going to pray. I'm going to go upset. I don't want to talk to you. How dare you do this? How dare you take my son away? Or am I going to say, Lord, let it be your will? Let it be your will, Lord. I'm in a relationship, it broke. How would I feel about it? I lost a parent. How will I feel about it? Will my parent be more important than my relationship with God? Or will my relationship with God take precedence? Lord, I trust you. Yes, I've lost this thing that is dear to me. Money. I have money in the bank. If I wake up in the morning and I have zero money in the bank, how would I feel? Devastated, probably. Most of us don't lie about it, yes. If I wake up and I found that I won the lottery, 100 million pounds, I would be excited, yes. And let's not lie about it, absolutely. But how will it affect me? Will I still trust in God or not? Whether it's money, it's relationship, it's family, who am I putting my heart into more? This is not neglect. I'm not neglecting, I'm still caring for them. But I am caring for God more. Does that make sense? Any other questions? John, you have a question? No, I'm joking. Any question? I'm with me. Any questions? All right. No.
Does this mean that we're all giving our hearts to God? You know, if I ask everyone to be very honest and raise your hand if you're going to give your heart to God and He's going to be the most important one in your life, how many people are going to raise their hands? Good. The one that who raised his hand, please meet me after we finish. Okay? Okay, thank you very much, Mina, once again. It's an amazing talk. Thank you so much. Show our appreciation once more to Mina. Now, the bit that really, also like, I get, I don't know what's the right word, but fascinates me with Mina's presentation is his pictures. I don't know where he gets them from. Okay? It's as if Google only works for Mina and they give him all of a sudden all of these different images. I try to do the same and I can't find these pictures. Okay. You know what the problem is with giving God? The problem is we think it's ours. But whose is it? Whose is it? God. Is your health yours? God gave you your health. Is your money yours? God gave you the job which you generate the money from. Is your relationship yours? Is your family yours? Is your possessions yours? Is anything yours? No. And this is why we struggle, because everything that we hold on to dear to our heart, we simply think about it as ours. But if you think about it for a minute, that it's not really yours, that's God's, it becomes much easier. So some people who come and they confess with me and they struggle in tithes. I tell them, okay, why do you struggle in tithes? They say, Abuna, like 10% is a lot. I have all of these commitments, mortgage, and if they're married, baby diapers, all of these long list of things. And how can I can barely afford it. I tell them, okay, let's start from the beginning. Your whole salary, whose is it? It's mine. Whose is it? Eventually we reach to, it's God. And then you give God 10%. What a deal. What a deal. He gives you 9 and he takes 1. What a deal. We don't look at things this way. We think it's all ours, and that's why we hold on to these things very dearly. God gives you your health so that you can serve Him. God gives you money and possessions so that you can serve His children. And we hold on to dear. That's why we're not able to sacrifice, especially our hearts, because within them are everything that we hold on to dear to. And we see this very clearly in the temptation that our Lord went through. What were the 3 things that He was tempted with? Food, which represents what? Lust of the flesh, whatever type of lust it is. Gluttony, sexual desires, whatever these lusts are. 1. 2. Pride, throw yourself from the temple. Everybody's going to see you and clap and cheer off. 3. Possessions. Anything that you're holding dear to falls into one of these 3. Anything that the devil is tempting you falls into one of these 3. And that's why the church at the beginning of Lent says what sets out the gospel. 3 things they teach us, which is, what do you do during Lent? Pray, fast, and giving. Pray, fast, and giving. Why? Because prayer humbles you, so no more pride. Fasting takes away all of the lusts of the flesh, so that goes away. And giving, you don't worry about the possessions anymore. It's as easy as that. Okay? Now I'm going to tell you a quick story about someone who actually is the female version of Abraham. So this story was told by Abuna Bishoy al-Antoni, if anybody knows him. Okay, he's a lovely, lovely monk, very calm, lovely white, long beard, amazing. So Abuna Bishoy al-Antoni says the story. So he once went to serve in the US, and he happened to stay in the house of a family. So there was a born Copt Egyptian woman who migrated to the US, and she got married to an American man, and he was baptized, and he joined the church. They have 3 children, and she did everything to raise her children in the love and fear of God, and very dedicated to the church. They go every Sunday. Beautiful family, serving God. They do not hold back on anything. Effort, time, money, possessions, anything they will do for God. Even their children, they were like rooted in Christ. So when Abuna Bishoy al-Antoni was there, she went to him once and she sat with him. She said, I want to give God my whole heart. What do I do? Abuna told her, oh, you're doing everything. You're such a lovely lady. Like you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. I don't know what else. She says, no, Abuna, tell me something. He told her, okay, maybe think of what is the most dearest to your heart and you're willing to give that to God. Who's the most dearest to your heart? She said, my children. He said, okay, are you willing to let go? She said, oh, what do you mean? Give them to God? Like in what sense? Whatever sense God chooses. Are you willing? And she struggled a little bit, but then she said, Abuna, I'm willing. And she went through the rest of, I think it was Lent, and she prayed that God takes everything, and He occupies her whole heart. Her eldest son was serving in military in the army, and he was in a different state. I think it was like 5-6 hours flight between them. And after Lent by a while, one morning she got a phone call, early morning, from his friend in the base, and he told her, "Your son passed away." And I don't know if you guys here, anyone here is a parent. I know of one, myself. Our children, you will never know how valued and loved you are by the parents until you have your own children. I promise you that. Never in my life was I aware how much my parents knew me, loved me, except when I had Karen, my firstborn. The day that I had Karen, my firstborn, and they got her out from the nursery, I looked at her and I felt this huge gush of love over this small thing that was in my hands. I left her with the nurse, I went outside and I bowed down to my parents who were in the reception area, and I kissed their hands and I told them, for the first time, I understand how much you loved me. So for her to lose her child, it is so difficult. Do you think what was the first question that she asked the person who informed her? She told him, was he holding on to God? And the young man said, he was different in all ways. He was always with his Bible. He was always in his prayers. He never did anything wrong. He never messed around as we did. She told him, that's all I need to know. I'm happy. And for God to reward her, this is the miracle. So a young man dying in the army is very suspicious. So what they had to do is they had to carry out a biopsy immediately. And once biopsy happens, or it's not biopsy, what do you call it? Autopsy. Once they do that, then that's it. The body has to be taken away and put into the coffin and buried. So the commander called her and he said, we have to do the autopsy today. The doctor is here and there's no way out. So she told him, I cannot come to see him. I want to see him the last time. He told her, I'm really sorry. You can come, afterwards to take the coffin, but he's going in now. So she went to Virgin Mary and she prayed and she said, you are a mother and you know how I feel. And you saw your son when he came down from the cross. Allow me to see my son for the last time, to offer him to your son. And she booked her flight with full faith. She got onto that plane. She arrived late at night. She went straight into the military base, and she was informed that the doctor who was supposed to do the autopsy fell ill, something happened, and they postponed it to the following day, which was impossible to happen in the military base. And she saw her son and she offered him to Christ with full love. So when I tell you I've heard about the female version of Abraham, she did, but she went all the way. So I pray that you can look into your heart, deep inside, and say, what is it that I'm holding on to? What is it that I cannot let go of? And let this go to God, because He gives you, and He's waiting to give you more and more and more. The moment you start holding on to the small, your hands are not going to be big enough to carry the big that He's preparing for you. Any questions? Announcements. So tomorrow we have the snack event, which is Saturday nights at church. We're going to start 6:30 with Vespers, and then we're going to have the main event at 8 p.m. downstairs in the Rock in the Basement.